Hello YouTube, Reddit Math here, and welcome back to the Red Estate. This week we're going to be kind of treading water for a little while, basically hoping to recoup some of our units from the last time that are getting a little bit of stress relief here. Everybody except Omand, she's not too bad, and I think with the newfound like slow de-stressing when you just don't go out, I think she's going to be okay. Actually might be a decent enough time to sort of check. She's at 24 stress right now, and I'm not entirely sure how much it relieves, but that's something that I can check after we make this next run. So I still want to head into the cove so we can level it up another level and unlock another boss. And I'm thinking that a short apprentice mission makes a ton of sense for that. Who I want to take on it is an interesting question. I would like to see our bounty hunter continuing to level up. So I'm thinking, I don't think I'm gonna run with the same like marking crew that I tried last time, but maybe something like this. Does she have? She does have Iron Swan, so let's go ahead and swap those two. He can do everything he can do from the front rank, from the second rank, so that should be fine. And then, Panzervolt and Moncel, something like that. So that's everybody from the crew for marking except for the Houndmaster. But yeah, like I think I'd rather stick with that. Do we have? We do have a level 5. We've got a level 5 Hellion, but we've also got a level 6 Houndmaster. So that's really shouldn't be the critical decision-making factor there. So I think I'll stick with this. I'm pretty okay with that. We've got plenty of gold for provisioning, and I don't see that being too big of a deal. With a dedicated healer, say a single stack of gold should do it. And it is just a short mission. Probably get away with like 6 of those, 2 of those, and then I'm just going to bring like 1 of each thing. We'll bring a couple of additional medicinal herbs and a couple of additional bandages, just in case we find ourselves being bled. Other than that, I'm pretty okay with that. We'll go ahead and get started. The fishfolk's scaled skin affords them increased resistance to bleeding attacks. I, of course, have decided to be very hard-headed and insist on using bleed attacks every time I go into the cove. It's not quite as bad as blight attacks in the ruins, for example.
These salt-soaked caverns are teeming with pelagic nightmares. They must be flushed out.
The undead have like 200% bleed resist. I'd rather take a fish over a skeleton any day. All right, love it. Well, we were basically going to be doing the same thing there. Also, these guys came into this with some penalties from hard nights out on the town. Not...
Curious is the trapmaker's art. His efficacy unwitnessed by his own eyes.
Look at you. You're so terrible now. I was about to say, it's not the worst thing in the world on an occultist, but man, a minus 20% damage buff on some characters, that would be pretty darn debilitating. Oh, yeah, nothing left untouched. I get it. Okay, map inside. Well then, we already know that walking forward is basically going to be a waste of time. I'll take the 5 stress hit and we'll just back out of that. Also, we know there are no room battles for a while. That's kind of interesting. This might be a fairly uneventful stroll through the cove. Oh no, stop doing that. Okay, so that's got to be compulsive. Ugh. Yeah. Stashed heirlooms, I don't need those. I'm going to relight another torch. So if this is empty and that's empty, at most, just the final 2 rooms could have room battles in them. Certainly not the hardest cove setup we could have ever gotten. I'm not going to complain too much, as I do kind of enjoy the XP mechanic in this game. That, like, you could consider it an anti-grinding sort of scenario where there literally is no way that you end up grinding for experience points anyway. There might be a use case, of course. Feed him and then immediately. There might be a use case out there somewhere for wandering around in the dungeon for the loot drops. Although, generally speaking, by the time the dungeon itself is complete, I would say my inventory is usually pretty full. And that's not a necessary tactic at that point. Okay. Find the first of our resistances. Some brigands, who are apparently a little bit faster than we are. And a little bit dodgier than we are. Okay. Couldn't dodge that one. Ow. Definitely ow. Okay. Well, bleed is probably going to be something that we end up wanting to get rid of for him. And then... Man. Without abyssal artillery. We could... You know what? I'm actually totally down with weakening cursing on that guy. And I do not feel like taking that additional damage, so... we could... I'm going to try for the stun, actually. Yes. Okay. Then... we also weakening curse him. We can mark that guy. Let's go with this. We'll lower his damage overall. Thankfully dodge a blanket fire. That's actually quite lovely. Might have been meant 3 instead of 4 damage from those guys. I can live with that. And then 2 to 3. This could get the kill.
Give them no quarter.
Does get the kill. Unfortunately, the debuff, or the debuff, the crit meant that there was no corpse left behind. All right. A little bit on the low end for damage there, but...
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
Love it, then easily finishes that off. HP accuracy. Alright. You should be able to miss that. Okay. You should be able to easily be dispatched this turn. Only 8 HP left. I'm not too concerned. I would have preferred to have not gotten 6 bleed damage, though.
A victory. Perhaps the turning point.
And Lovett is tossing out damage like it's going out of style with a plus 25 and plus 20% melee damage buff. I think I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that bleed instead of letting him tick down to 10. And then... let's just check out the fish idol. Ugh. Evil force marked. Not good. Well, now that everyone is debuffed... Actually, this raises an interesting point. I cannot use medicinal herbs for that. Okay, it can't take away the things that are until camp. Can it take away... But it does appear it could cleanse the 3-round debuff. Alright. I get that. That seems fair. If something's going to last until camp, allowing it to be dispelled by a single medicinal herb would probably be pretty imbalanced. Alright. And we get a surprise, which is a fantastic opportunity for us. Swap those guys around. Let's just go with the healing. We'll crit for 4, of course. because we have very different concepts of what it means to crit. Ugh. That was a little at the low end. That was also the very definition of at the low end. Thankfully, this guy is not going to be buffing or healing anybody from up front, and I can cope with ceremonial cuts. You may have a cool knife, buddy, but it doesn't do that much damage. Alright, and then 17, 21, try 4-0 healing. Okay. Poor cultist. Okay.
As the
that gets the kill.
A faint hope blossoms.
And with that, we have easily sealed the enemy's fate.
Continue the onslaught.
Wow.
Destroy them all.
Oh, so much for stunning that guy. I was considering getting another turn of healing in, but that didn't exactly happen. So this is going to be our final room, and I would say quite obviously our final room battle. So we'll go ahead and burn through some food here with something like that. And then, yeah, that should be fine. Got a nice handy dandy chest and a surprise to start things off with. I'm pretty okay with that. So, let's try for a pull here. Good. Get him up to the 2nd rank, where he is at least a little bit easier to deal with. And that was actually a pretty big dodge on their part. Okay. You know what? We'll go with that. Get the debuff everywhere. Cool. Probably a little bit of a waste attacking here, but
their formation is broken.
It does mean
the offensive.
One dead enemy fairly early on in this fight. Next up, we're going to want to focus on the Thrall here. I wonder if the Thrall can be, like, guarded as a way to ensure that he gets a chance to explode. From what I've seen... Okay. Never mind. I was just about to say, from what I've seen, he never does it that early. So he can explode on the 2nd round. The 2nd freaking round. Okay. So if he's not dead by the end of the 1st round, like, problems. Problems everywhere. Well, at least I don't see any huge problems coming up with us dealing. Oh my God, why? With us dealing with a single Pelagic Guardian. Down to 15. Ugh. Bleed. So 11. Down to 8. And there we go. She's taking 5 damage per turn. That's pretty horrific.
Be wary. Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall.
That's fair. We're not going to return to the hamlet yet. I'm a little disappointed that that's remained there this entire time. That whole pop-up in front. How often do people use that to return to the hamlet? Like, how often is there not something in the room with you that you want to check out before saying yes to it? That seems to be the case for me more often than not. And I miss the days when it would pop up and then just go away. And we did not need to click on anything to dismiss it. But for now, considering walking around with her is basically a death sentence, we're going to go ahead and get back to town.
The odor abates. The things are driven back for a time.
Pungent odor. That just sounds fantastic, Wayne. Thank you. Decent enough 20 crest haul. I should actually be able to upgrade something with that. So that should be pretty cool. I would long for the days in which I can finally say that all I have to worry about is bringing back gold. Weapon upgrade costs aren't too bad, especially on a level 1 character. If he keeps that for a few levels, I would be okay with that. 2 of our characters making it up to level 3, of course. Lovett and Moncel. And the other 2 still hanging out at level 1.
My obsession caused this great foulness, and it is shameful that I must rely upon you to set it right.
We didn't actually leave that many fishman slain in the depths of the cove, but you know, sometimes the news reports can include a little bit of spin, so that's fine. Crone used meditation to achieve resistance to the forces of the material world. He has now become balanced, which replaced Runes Explorer. Well, I'd rather have balance for him, so I'm okay with that. Reduce 70, 70, and 100. So those guys should be totally fine. And Omand, who had 24, apparently lost 5. So 5 a week in which they're not being used, which, so, man, she must have had a ton of stress whenever I left her there. So guys like this are totally fine. I mean, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that mechanic. Like, I never found myself complaining, like, that the characters that I wasn't using needed gold to de-stress them. Like, that just seemed pretty fair in the grand scheme of things. So I don't know. That's not one I really cared about, one way or the other. Obviously, there were a lot of people who did care about it, and eventually Red Hook decided that we would be better off with that little bit of additional help. But I could take it or leave it at this point. Now, one thing we did get is another level in the Cove. Awesome. That does mean the Sunken Crew is going to be available, and a Dark Tambourine. They're bringing it down. So that'll probably be our next mission, all things considered. Seems like the most prudent course of action. Once we've taken care of this boss, then we are back on to a bunch of level 5 bosses still needing to be cleared. And so we'll start worrying about getting these guys leveled up. I've actually been holding off on leveling their weapons and armor to the final level, mostly because I'd like to show it on camera. There's some pretty cool stuff that each of the characters get. And so as that time comes again, that'll be something that I want to make sure to capture just for you. Yeah, just for you. You heard me. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, feel free to subscribe for more episodes on the channel every single day. Leave a like or a comment if you have anything to say about this or any of my other episodes, and I will catch you guys next time.